A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the south of France. We're here at the Paul Ricard circuit for day 2 in the Ferrari Challenge Racing and the Ferrari event here at Le Castellet. Once again in truly supreme weather conditions. It's round 4 of the Ferrari Challenge and it is race 2 on day 2 for the Coppa drivers that are making their way out onto the grid as we speak. There you can see the 2017 calendar, having already visited Valencia, Monza, Budapest. We're here in Le Castellet with, still to come, Silverstone, Imola and Mugello. The glittering World Finals to come in Mugello this year. Next round in the Ferrari Challenge will not have scenery quite like that because we are off to Silverstone in the UK. But we're in France today at the Le Castellet circuit, which is a beautiful location, beautiful circuit, beautiful scenery and temperatures to boot. So drivers on the grid then, ready to do battle over 30 minutes. This 5.8 kilometer circuit, which is 2 very, very long straights, punctuated by 2 technical sections at the end of each straight. There is actually some 16 turns here, which prove to be a challenge for the drivers. There's no question about that. Air temperature then, 30 degrees, track temperature 46 degrees. In unbroken sunshine, as you can see, because there is hardly a wispy cloud in the sky as the drivers are preparing themselves in the final stages of preparation for this 30-minute race. Our pole sitter, Johnny Lawson. And in fact, the front row is the same as yesterday with Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid. But Johnny Lawson is the championship leader on 113 points, and his pole position lap was a blisterer. Well done, Johnny Lawson, going from P1 on the grid. Henry Hassid alongside him, and those two fighting going into turn 1 yesterday was very exciting indeed. There is Henry Hassid then inside the car, engineered by Charles Pozzi. 3 races contested and has taken 2 wins, and it was a very dominant win yesterday from Henry Hassid. We'll see if he can repeat that success today. So some of the race fans enjoying the glorious weather conditions and the great race action which is about to come. We've had qualifying sessions for both the Coppa drivers, which are on track now, and also the Trofeo Pirelli drivers, which will be on track a little later this afternoon. But it's the first race action that is about to get underway. Going from P3 is Eric Chung, some 38 times a visitor to the podium at various tracks across the Asia-Pacific and European rounds of the Ferrari Challenge. And then from P4, it is Christophe Ernie. So we find ourselves on track then in the south of France at Le Castellet. It's the Paul Ricard circuit. So some great images then from not only Le Castellet but also the circuit and the very, very busy paddock with lots of activities for the race fans, including the driver's autograph session which took place earlier today. So we look at the 144 car of Vladimir Haladik going from P5 on the grid. So all the drivers attending the autograph session, which was thronged with fans eager to get photographs of their favourite drivers out there on track. The 168 car is David Lim, who's down there in P17, driving for the Formula Racing team. So the 5-minute buzzer and board are held up, which means the grid will clear and final stages of preparation before the race gets underway. A full 30-minute race, which as always with the Ferrari Challenge features a rolling start where the cars will be picked up by the safety car and There we can see Manuela Gosner, the Ladies' Cup leader, with some 13 points. And she did a brilliant job in qualifying not only the best of the ladies, but going from P7 on the grid in the race.
Hello, my name is Meyer. I'm from France. I'm driving for Castellet Racing. This is my second European Coppa season, and it's a big pleasure to be here in Le Castellet, in my home country, driving on an amazing, wonderful racetrack, soon to welcome the Formula One Grand Prix.
Joy. She's always joyful, she's always smiling, always laughing, and having a lot of fun. So this is really Deborah, it really reflects you.
Driving and racing in Puerto Rico is something very special. It means something special to me. It's the first time in my seasons racing in Coppa that I drive in my home country. It's a big pleasure and honor, and I'll do my best to get a very good result. Now enjoy the Ferrari challenge.
Well, great to hear from Deborah Mayer, who is another one of the lady racers like Manuela Gosner. Unfortunately, though, Deborah Mayer not on the grid. A problem yesterday means that she's not racing today, which is a great shame, but good to see Deborah Mayer nonetheless. So this then, the autograph session that I mentioned earlier in the program, as the drivers were signing autographs for the fans. There's Josh Cartu and Philip Barron alongside him then. And there Thomas O'Rourke and Danielle Diamato, who are from the Trofeo Pirelli series. Also Bjorn Grossman there, posing for photographs with young fans. And great to see the drivers, and von Skeltermar there. And every driver taking part in that, so posters and photographs are being handed out. Fantastic to see. And there's young Conrad Lawson sprinting up the grid. Conrad is son of Johnny Lawson, our pole sitter, and a heck of a good kart racer. So, but moments away from the start of the race for the Coppa drivers in the Ferrari Challenge. Then we have lady racer Manuela Gosner going from P7 on the grid. Lady racer Tina Koch going from P15 on the grid. They race in a separate Ladies' Cup classification. And here is the grid in full for you. The front row, same as yesterday, Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid. Then it's Eric Chung, Christoph Ernie, Vladimir Hladek and Eric Prinot then are on the third row of the grid before we find Manuela Gosner, Rick Lovett, von Skeltermar, Thomas Gosner, James Wyland and Muhat Kuada-Ruglu going from P12 on the grid. So that completes the first 6 rows of our grid for race number 2 here at Le Castellet. Before we find Tommy Lindroth, Claudio Schiavone, then it's Tina Koch and Henrik Kamstrup and David Lim and Al Hegyi bringing up the rear of the pack. That's the way it looks. Deborah Mayer there on row 10 of the grid, but sadly, I don't think Deborah Mayer is actually on the track. We've heard from her earlier in the program, and I'm sure that a problem yesterday means that she is not on the track as the safety car leaves the grid now.
Hi guys, qualifying is over. I am very happy today. I did a big step forward. My time is better with 1 second, 0.3. Unfortunately, I catch up a lot of traffic in the last sector in my fast lap. Otherwise, I would have been a lot more in front. But anyway, it was a great qualifying.
It was a good qualifying. Manuela Gosner, who finds herself P7 on the grid, and the best of the ladies that are racing as the cars are released now on their formation lap. The heat haze rises from the tarmac, And the cars make their way through the first sequence of turns, which is chicanes, turn 1 and 2. And on their formation lap, and one not getting away on the formation lap, I regret to say, is Al Hegyi, then the Rosso Corsa racer whose car did not go from the start. Now, they can put the car into the pit lane if they're able to do something. Might be allowed to start from the pit lane. All the social media are up at the top of the screen. Failing that, if the car goes now, he can catch up, and he is going to be allowed to be in part of the formation lap because was right at the back of the grid in any event, so presumably just a stall there. Races.ferrari.com, in addition to all the social media, is the website that contains all the information with regards to the Ferrari Challenge. Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid there really weaving from side to side, trying to generate some temperature into the tyres before the start of this 30-minute race. Yesterday, Henry Hassid got a very, very good start, and then he and Johnny Lawson absolutely side by side. And going into turn 1, neither of them were able to make the chicane, which is not the chicane we're looking at now. This is the chicane that's turns 8, 9 and 10. Henry Hassid got ahead of Johnny Lawson, and it stayed that way for the remainder of the race, to be honest with you. And he set such an incredible pace as we go into the Formula Racing garage now, and then back to the spectators on the sun-kissed banks of the Paul Ricard circuit. There's Eric Prinot and Manuel Agosner and von Skeltermar. There's James Weiland, Tommy Lindroth in car number 127. And there we see the David Lim car, Al Hegyi having not quite caught the back of the train up yet. So the cars on the final part of the Mistral Straight now into the really rather technical section, which is turns 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and the finger poses over the green light button to set the cars racing then. Beppe Scanetti is our safety car driver, a former Ferrari Challenge champion. And the cars all line up in grid order now before they are released by the safety car. And then it's the responsibility of Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid to control the pace of the formation lap as they head towards the lights, which we will throw up to the top of the screen for you so you can see the start sequence as it happens. Stand by then, race 2 for Coppa Shell in Ferrari Challenge is about to get underway. The lights go green then, and Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid absolutely side by side then as they head into turn number 1. But Johnny Lawson not making the mistake he did yesterday in allowing Henry Hassid to be right alongside him already. Eric Chung has got past Christoph Herney to take up the P3 position. That's before they've even done the first few turns. So great driving from Eric Chung. Von Skeltermar taken to the runoff area in the 177 car, and there's contact there between Vladimir Hladik and Eric Prinot. Could just see one of the aero flicks being flicked off the Eric Prinot car. Also contact there from Rick Lovett on the Manuel Agosner car, but Rick Lovett files in behind Manuel Agosner. So Lawson, Hassid, then it's Chung, Herney, Hladik and Eric Prinot then. And there is von Skeltermar. So Johnny Lawson then with Henry Hassid for company, and already those two have broken away a little bit from Eric Chung. Now Eric Prinot taking a look at the Vladimir Hladik car as Vladimir Hladik himself trying to get past Christoph Herney ahead of him through the chicane that kind of splits the two parts of the Mistral Straight here, and Eric Prinot now is under some pressure himself. So Lawson goes through, so too does Hassid, then Eric Chung, and there is Eric Prinot then under some pressure from von Skeltermar. Now, whether the damage to the front end of his car following that contact really early on will mean that it's not handling quite to his liking and allow von Skeltermar to get ever closer to him perhaps. But this is the battle that is going on for P4 at the moment between Vladimir Hladek and Christoph Herney. So Christoph Herney in the 162 car, Vladimir Hladek in the 144 car through the final turns of this technical part of the circuit, and Thomas Gostner and James Weiland getting together, and Thomas Gostner the big loser in that part because he spins around and he's onto the sand, as you can see, but does manage to get the car back going again, but unfortunately he'll be right at the back of the pack. He and James Weiland coming together there. So down the start-finish straight, and Eric Prinot then trying to reel in the 144 car, gets right alongside. There was almost a touch between the two of them as they head in now towards the first chicane. Prinot on the inside and Hladek right on the outside there. I don't think he's made the chicane, to be honest. We can't see from that camera position. But there is Eric Prinot then. Christoph Herney ahead of him, and Vladimir Hladek does return, but he has now von Skeltermar for company. Von Skeltermar in the inside of Vladimir Hladek, and von Skeltermar carrying perhaps a bit too much speed into that turn. And that will play into the hands of Vladimir Hladek and allow him to go to retain that position that he once had. Here's Manuela Gostner then chasing down the Castellet driver that is von Skeltermar ahead. Johnny Lawson already opened up some 8/10 of a margin over Henry Hassid, and here are the P1 and P2 drivers. P3 is Eric Chung, and then P4 Christoph Herney, then it's Eric Prinot, and then Vladimir Hladek. So Eric Prinot then running in P5. Said I was perhaps concerned that there might be a little bit of aero damage to that car, but his position and his pace at the moment would suggest that is not the case. So Ineco MP Racing, the team that engineered the Eric Prinot car. Eric, who's taken one win this year and came in the first race at Monza, is chasing down that Christoph Herney car. In the meantime, Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid. Henry Hassid has taken some time out of Johnny Lawson's lead now. Eric Chung in P3, bit out on his own currently. So back again to this fight for P5 and P4, which is going on, and Eric Prinot does get up the inside through turn 16 of the 162 Christoph Herney car. So that position is changed. It's now Eric Prinot that's P4. It's Christoph Herney that is P5. Reinforce what I was saying about the gap coming down between Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid. That is the case because it's down to just 4/10 now as Henry Hassid sets the fastest lap of the race thus far. So the race is on for Johnny Lawson because Henry Hassid is catching him. Now Eric Prinot has got past Christoph Herney. He will, of course, try and reel in the car of Eric Chung, which is the final podium place at the moment. P3 for Eric Chung, who races for the Formula Racing team. So Eric Prinot then chasing down that red car. And Christoph Herney settled into that P5 position. So contact there between Eric Prinot and Vladimir Hladek, which we saw earlier in the race. And in fairness, there was no contact between Thomas Gostner and James Weiland, as we just see that in replay. And this in replay was when Eric Prinot managed to get past Vladimir Hladek. Thomas Gostner, of course, is right at the back of the pack now, going past David Lim, following that spin around, which was not provoked at all by James Weiland. There was no contact between them. There's the aero flicks that came off the Eric Prinot car. So Henry Hassid then is P2. Fastest lap, as I mentioned, a 2:11.596 as he chases down Johnny Lawson, who is currently leading the race. And the gap is seesawing between 4/10 and 8/10. And you can see it's now 9/10 between Lawson and Hassid, but Hassid once again has closed that gap still further and is going to be pressuring Johnny Lawson very, very soon. It's just a car length between the two of them as they round turn number 16. Johnny Lawson runs a bit wider than Henry Hassid does. That means that Hassid gets a better exit out of the turn and perhaps begins to get the benefit of a toe now going down the start-finish straight. Is he going to try and move going into turn number 1? Here comes Henry Hassid. Dives to the inside, but that is, he wasn't really close enough to be able to do it. Eric Chung's team radio.
Good job, Eric. Stay focused. Keep calm. Stay focused. Watch in front of you.
So Eric Chung being told to stay focused and watch in front of you. Don't worry about what's going on behind. Well, what's going on behind, Eric, is that Eric Prinot is catching you. Rick Lovett has had to turn into the pits, whether there's a problem for the Canadian racer in the 112 car, but Rick Lovett is in the pit lane. Here comes Henry Hassid again, then pressuring Johnny Lawson. Look how the gap has come down now to 3 tenths between the two of them. So Henry Hassid then off the chicane onto the second part of the Mistral Straight. They begin to climb uphill. Beg your pardon, it was the first part of the Mistral Straight. They've gone into the chicane now. So when they exit the chicane, they'll be climbing slightly uphill towards turn number 11, which is where this camera is positioned right now. Live gap between Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid then on screen for you. So Henry Hassid probably is trying to line up a move which will happen into turns 1 and 2. He'll use this technical section here to get as close to the Johnny Lawson car as he can. Then again, he will try and get a superior exit off the back of turn number 16 to try and set up a move going into turns 1 and 2, although perhaps he'll take his chances before that because he is now welded virtually to the back of the Johnny Lawson car. So Johnny Lawson P1, Henry Hassid P2. Looks like it's a retirement for Rick Lovett, unfortunately, because he's still in the pit lane. No, he's actually making his way out of the pit lane now. So thankfully, whatever is wrong with the Rick Lovett car has been sorted and he's coming back out onto track. Okay, live gap then between Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid as they cross the timing line is just 3 tenths. So Henry Hassid once again gets the benefit of the toe, tries to dive to the inside of Johnny Lawson. Johnny Lawson sticks his elbows out, 255 kilometers per hour through the speed trap for the Charles Pottsy driver Henry Hassid, who is currently P2. It's a question of when, not if, Henry Hassid is going to try and move on Johnny Lawson. Johnny Lawson very, very focused on defending and defending very hard. So we take a look at the number 100 car spinning around. That's being driven, of course, by the lady racer Tina Koch. But back to this battle at the front then. And Henry Hassid is really keeping this pressure on Johnny Lawson, trying to push Johnny Lawson into just making a small error. That's all he needs. And he won't need inviting twice, as once again they're on the Mistral Straight now. Heavy braking as they turn into the chicane. And Eric Prinot really has reeled in Eric Chung as well. That's for P3. That gap has come down demonstrably. So the order then is Lawson, Hassid, then it's Chung, Prinot, Herney, Hladik, von Skeltermar, before we see Manuela Gosner, who's leading the ladies' race. She's actually dropped a position in comparison to the P7 starting position she had. She's in P8 with James Weiland behind and Murat Kuhadaroglu rounding out the top 10 at the moment. So Manuela Gosner, James Weiland, Murat Kuhadaroglu, and Claudia Schiavone then is running in P11. So it's P8 that is being held by the lady racer Manuela Gosner at the moment. Vladimir Hladik and Christoph Herney just going through on screen. The order then Lawson and Hassid and Chung. There you can see the grid progression. Eric Prinot is the big winner. He goes up 2 places. Herney and Hladik go down 1. Skeltermar up 2 places. Manuela Gosner down 1. Then Weiland, Kuhadaroglu, Schiavone and Lindroth all making places up from the start of the race. Prinot just taking a look at Eric Chung now. Here comes Eric Prinot. Both cars then dip down under braking, but Eric Chung Got it all completely under control. It is down to 3/10, the margin between them now. Eric Prinot definitely quicker. You can see the, as we look on the screen now, the right-hand door mirror of Eric Prinot's car is missing. That came off in some of the earlier contact right at the start of the race, and Eric Prinot all over the back of Eric Chung now. So battle for the teams as well. Eric Chung racing for the Formula Racing team, and Eric Prinot for Nico MP Racing. Let's hear team radio from Eric Chung. Well, they must have pressed the mute button on their radio then, because we didn't hear any of that. Here comes Prinot then. Eric Chung turns in, so too Eric Prinot. Eric Prinot much tighter on the apex of the exit there. The apex of the turn before the exit. Lawson and Hassid up the road. The gap between P1 and P2, just under 5/10. And this the battle for third position then. And again, Eric Prinot then making sure that Eric Chung's rearview mirror is full of his car. Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid then. Where will Henry Hassid make his move on Johnny Lawson? Getting the benefit of the tow now as they are so close together. Johnny Lawson though making sure that he defends stoically by making sure that he puts the car exactly where Henry Hassid wants to be going. Around turn 16 then, the different lines that those two drivers take through that final turn, extraordinary. As they cross the timing line, let's get the live gap for you then. And now, Henry Hassid, he's closer than he's been for some time now, but again, Johnny Lawson just closes the door, and Henry Hassid not able to take advantage, but now, can he get on the inside of Johnny Lawson? Hassid had a better exit, and he's certainly got the pace, and he does go through on Johnny Lawson, so he takes up the lead. Johnny Lawson will try and fight back, but I think there's a real pace deficiency between those two cars, because Henry Hassid has looked significantly quicker, and he does go through to take up P1. Johnny Lawson relegated to P2. So Lawson doing everything he can, even throwing the car across the curbs there to keep on terms with Henry Hassid, but Hassid not doing the overtake perhaps where we expected it to, but that's because Johnny Lawson was able to... We've lost Eric Chung from P3. He's spun around. Both he and Eric Prinot spun at turn 14. Now that would have been a battle over P3 between Eric Prinot and Eric Chung. I'd like to see that again, really. But that means that Christoph Herny is elevated to P3, Vladimir Haladik P4, von Skeltermar P5. Of course, Eric Chung has managed to get back into P6. Eric Prinot, not quite so. He's back there in P12 now. The Formula Racing team on their pit wall there. The incident involving those two cars will be under investigation. And there you can see confirmation of that on your screen, that investigation between the cars of Eric Prinot and Eric Chung under investigation. Can only surmise that it was a bold and ambitious move from Eric Prinot in terms of trying to overtake Eric Chung that went horribly wrong for both of them. In the replay we saw, weren't quite able to ascertain how it came about. P1 and P2 though, Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson. So from the previous lap it has changed, because Henry Hassid now leads Johnny Lawson, and the margin is some 8/10, which reinforces what I was saying. It's actually up to 9/10 now that Henry Hassid has really got the pace in the car, and is that pace superiority over Johnny Lawson at some point was always going to mean that he would find a way of getting past the Johnny Lawson car. Indeed, he did that on the last lap. So the rest of the order then, as Eric Chung unfortunately is in the pit lane, so presumably damage sustained to the car of Eric Chung. Also in the pit lane is Eric Prinot, so those two that were fighting over P3 have both significantly lost out. So the order then is Acid, Lawson, Herney, then Hladek, Skeltermar and Manuela Gosner on for P6, and the best of the ladies because Tina Koch is running in P13 at the moment. Here is Eric Prinot then, perhaps picked up a puncher in the contact. Car is still running, so we'll try and get the car out again. No, it's not. He's switched the car off and he's getting out of the car. So all of a sudden, the fight for third position intensifies, but it will intensify between Herney, Hladek, but the one to keep an eye on here is going to be von Skeltermar, who's currently in P5, and he will sense that there is perhaps an opportunity over the final 13 minutes of this race for him to get a podium out of this, maybe.
That's it, simple. Okay. And then no power. Hit it from the back and...
So Eric Chung then saying that he got hit. Let's take a look.
No, before last turn.
Well, sorry. That seems fairly cut and dried to me. So you can understand why Eric Chung is a little disappointed. His race is over. He was on the podium yesterday. And thanks to our team for getting us that replay straight away from the onboard camera of Eric Chung. That incident, I remind you, between cars 181 and 198 will be investigated after the end of the race. So here's the fight now for P3, which is between Christoph Herney and Vladimir Hladek, and trying to reel them both in is von Skeltermar. Now, what would be the best news for von Skeltermar is if these two get really close together and start fighting among themselves. That enables von Skeltermar to get ever closer to them. So we've got just under 12 minutes remaining of this race. Christoph Herney then in P3 at the moment. And for Christoph Herney, who's had a P3 and a P2, there's Eric Prinot. Yeah, see if we can hear any of this conversation. No, we couldn't, but into the garage of the Ineco MP racing team. As to be said, probably advantageously, there's a big distance between the garages of Ineco MP racing and those of Formula racing. The paddock and pit garage complex kind of split into two, really, and they're in different parts. Race control have asked to see Eric Prinot after this race, and there you can see confirmation of that on screen. So he's going to have to go and explain his way out of what happened to race control. So Henry Hassid is showing the same pace that he had yesterday and has increased the margin over Johnny Lawson to 1.6 seconds. This is the battle for P6. It's between Manuela Gosner and James Weiland and Muhat Kuhada-Ruglu and Claudio Schiavone, though Weiland is nothing like close enough to be able to take the charge to Manuela Gosner at the moment. Just looking on the timing screen to see how von Skeltermar is reeling in the cars of Vladimir Hladek and Christoph Herney, and to be honest, he isn't. Muhat Kuhada-Ruglu is ahead of Claudio Schiavone. Then, as you can see, the battle for the P8 position, 8 tenths between the two of those. So Murat Kuhada-Ruglu with just a little mistake there, but a mistake from Claudio Schiavone as well, as tyre degradation begins to play an effect, as you can see with the back end of the Claudio Schiavone car just stepping out a little bit as they climb the crest over the start-finish straight and start to head downhill into turn one. Manuela Gosner going through. And the top speed for Claudio Schiavone through the speed trap, 249 kilometers per hour. We have seen 255 kilometers per hour recorded through the speed trap. In fact, 255.3 for Eric Chung. It's 254 for Henry Hassid. And there is Deborah Mayer, who we saw earlier in the program, keeping an eye on what Claudio Schiavone is doing out there. There's James Weiland, there's Murat Kuhada-Ruglu, who is running in P8, and then Claudio Schiavone then is P9 with Tommy Lindroth P10 at the moment. And 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 Tommy So the 126 car of Henrik Kamstrup being followed by the number 100 car of Tina Koch, who's up to P13, ahead of David Lim and Al Heggie and Rick Lovett. From the race, we've lost Eric Chung and Eric Prinot, just a couple of laps earlier where they were fighting for P3 in the race. Henry Hassid is lapping significantly quicker than Johnny Lawson at the moment and extends his margin to 2 seconds now. It was a 2:12.390 for Henry Hassid last time around. It's a 2:13.210 for Johnny Lawson. So Tina Koch is beginning to reel in Henrik Kamstrup. In the meantime, this P3 battle continues, but I have to be honest, Vladimir Hladik has not really looked close enough to Christoph Herney to have a go. Around turn 16 they go. Christoph Herney seems to have the measure of where Vladimir Hladik is putting the car. Here comes the live gap between the two of them. 7/10 you see between Christoph Herney and Vladimir Hladik. Von Skeltermar, for all he's worth, trying to reel them both in, but his lap times are not quick enough for him to be able to narrow that gap between himself in P5 and the back of the Vladimir Hladik car in P4. Just 7 minutes of the race remaining. Can Christoph Herney see off the challenge from Vladimir Hladik? Eric Chung continuing to have discussions on the pit wall with his Formula Racing team. So the best that perhaps Vladimir Hladik can hope for is that Christoph Herney makes an error and a mistake, but he hasn't been forthcoming yet. So the long Mistral straight here at the Le Castellet circuit, the first part of that, and heavy braking into the chicane. Car 177 has exceeded the track limit at turn 2. That's Von Skeltermar who's chasing these two down, to be honest. Von Skeltermar, of course, who is running in P5. Just see his car into picture now, exiting the chicane. And Hladik a little bit closer to Christoph Herney now, I feel. As we watch the rest of the cars, James Wyland at the moment not making really sizable progress in terms of reeling in Manuela Gosner, nor to Claudio Schiavone, and the car ahead of him, as Thomas Gosner does manage to get past Tommy Lindroth, though. That for the P10 position. And sure enough, there is Thomas Gosner ahead of the Tommy Lindroth number 127 car. So the battle for P10, which at the moment is going the way of Thomas Gosner, father of Manuela Gosner, who's 4 places up the road in P6. And this was the Thomas Gosner overtake on the inside of Tommy Lindroth, going into the chicane. Tommy Lindroth trying to come back, but ended up being out wide, and Thomas Gosner just having enough momentum to be able to hold on to that as they round turn 16. Henry Hassid, 3.5 seconds to the good, ahead of Johnny Lawson in P1. And Thomas Gosner certainly quicker than Tommy Lindroth. Right. Vladimir Hladik has got no more than a couple of laps, really, to try and unsettle Christoph Herney for that P3 place. The entire last few laps hasn't really looked anything like close enough to be able to mount a challenge, and Von Skeltermar, to be sure, is not reeling them in either. So these two out on a race on their own for the final podium place. And now, just on cue, Vladimir Hladik does get closer to Christoph Herney than he has been over the previous laps. So they climb uphill now towards turn number 11, which is the right-hander. And certainly Hladik is closer to Christoph Herney now. And through this technical section, can he keep the pressure on? Try and provoke a small error from Christoph Herney. which will give him just the edge necessary to try and find his way past the 162 car, which is P3 currently. Haven't seen many mistakes from Christoph Hörny in this race, to be fair. Vladimir Hladek over the rumble strips in his quest to keep on terms with the all-black Ferrari 488 car, which is ahead and is being driven by Christoph Hörny. The remarkable pace of P1 and P2 means they are Christoph Hörny is some 20 seconds behind Johnny Lawson. So 6/10 between the two. Hladek's certainly not going to be close enough to be able to try and move going into turn one now. I'll get this lap and one more. So not huge opportunities here for Vladimir Hladek, and to make the most of any opportunity, he does need to be considerably closer. But Christoph Hörny doing a great job in terms of driving. I wouldn't say overly defensively, because I don't think he's had to really overly defend. This is the battle for P12 between Henrik Kamstrup and Tina Koch. Tina Koch, the lady racer. Around turn 16 is given a bit of an advantage there because Henrik Kamstrup runs wide, so the cars go side by side. This is the battle for P12. Kamstrup, though, with seemingly superior pace down the start-finish straight. Tina Koch will try, perhaps, to get underneath the Henrik Kamstrup car now going into turn one. Thinks better of it, and they remain as they are for P12 currently. But it won't take many more mistakes like that, and Tina Koch will be going through. So P12 for Henrik Kamstrup at the moment, P13 for Tina Koch. And Henry Hassid up the road in the lead, as we can see, already passing back-marking cars. And the first one of those is the 112 car of Rick Lovett, who, of course, had to pay a visit to the pit lane earlier on. Around turn number 16 now. And there we can just see the Johnny Lawson car, which is running in P2. It was 2.8 seconds between the two of them. I think it's going to be more than that now. Sure enough, another 7/10 Henry Hassid has built. It's 3.5 seconds, and we're into the final lap now. Vladimir Hladek just on a very quick sector one as he's trying to reel in Christoph Hörny, but nothing like close enough to be able to do so at the moment. So there is the very driver that I was talking about, Christoph Hörny, being chased by Vladimir Hladek. They're onto their final lap now, so it's now or never for Vladimir Hladek to try and find his way past the car of Christoph Hörny and take the final podium place. Manuela Gausner is P6 in the race and is leading the Ladies' Cup race. And there is von Skeltemar. So there, our race leader, Henry Hassid from the Charles Pottsy Racing team. Through the chicane. It's going to be a good home victory for him to add to the home victory that he had yesterday. 2 out of 2 here in Le Castellet. Very good news for Henry Hassid. The all-black car behind the Henry Hassid car is back-marking car of Rick Lovett. And down on the Charles Pottsy pit wall, they get ready to salute the 147 car across the timing line, and the checkered flag will be unfurled and will wave for another victory for Henry Hassid. He has the final sequence of turns to do. Took him a little longer perhaps to overtake Johnny Lawson than maybe we expected, but when he did it there was certainly no looking back. He's had the pace superiority, and it's turn 16 now, the final turn, as he heads towards the timing line, and the checkered flag is being waved. It's victory number 2 this weekend for Henry Hassid, who takes the win ahead of Johnny Lawson, who takes P2. We wait some 23 seconds before we will see Christoph Hörny and Vladimir Hladek cross the line. That's how far up the road these two were. And von Skeltemar has managed to get past Vladimir Hladik. So what has happened to Vladimir Hladik in chasing down Christoph Herney? Goodness only knows, because von Skeltermar finds himself P5 now. It's P4 actually, because of course Christoph Herney crosses the line to take the final podium place. Von Skeltermar P4, Vladimir Hladik P5, Manuela Gosner P6, James Wyland P7, Muhat Kuhadaroglu takes P8, Claudio Schiavone P9. The fight was between Thomas Gosner and Tommy Lindroth for P10, which Thomas Gosner takes. So von Skeltermar on the final lap then. Can only assume there was an error from, here we can see, Vladimir Hladik then chasing down Christoph Herney. Yes, that was a big spin for Vladimir Hladik. I tell you what, he did jolly well to control that. Lots of runoff area here, of course, at the Paul Ricard circuit. A complete 360 into first gear, but unfortunately, by that time, von Skeltermar had already gone past and said, "Thank you very much, I'm having some of that." His shark's teeth did not need to be sharpened for him to make that overtake. Truthfully, that was really rather gifted to him. Very creditable performance from Tina Koch as well to take P12, Henrik Kamstrup P13. Don't know what's happened to David Lim because he's not crossed the line, but Rick Lovett P15, Al Higgy P16. So, we're going to see on the podium Henry Hasse, Johnny Lawson and Christoph Herney. And we will also see Manuela Gosner as winner in the ladies' race. So the crowds all flock to the pit lane to be underneath the podium when the podium celebrations will be got underway. All the teams making their way down the pit lane as we speak. Of course, Henry Hasse, Johnny Lawson and Christoph Herney will park their cars up in the Parc Fermé area. Here is confirmation of the classification. Henry Hasse takes the win from Johnny Lawson, then it was Christoph Herney and von Skeltermar. Vladimir Hladik P5, Manuela Gosner, the best of the ladies, and also taking P6 in the race. James Wyland, Murat Kuhadaroglu, Claudio Schiavone and Thomas Gosner. So that is the best race finish for Manuela Gosner in the season thus far. She's had a P7, but that, of course, is a P6. So there is the Henry Hasse car. 2 out of 2 this weekend for Henry Hasse. And for the Charles Pottsy team as well, because the team's very much part of the success or otherwise of any racing driver. Trying to listen into what Henry Hasse is saying, but given it's French, it's really rather academic. There's Johnny Lawson. Did the very best he could, but the pace advantage that Henry Hasse appeared to have was enough to secure the win. So Johnny Lawson then removes the crash helmet. Best finish from Murat Kuhadaroglu as well, P8 for him. And there you can see the 162 car of Christoph Herney finally making its way into Parc Fermé. And congratulations offered. The young fan enjoying the weekend here at the Paul Ricard circuit as we celebrate, of course, the 70th anniversary of the Ferrari brand. A big sigh of relief from Manuela Gosner. Wins the Ladies' Cup, but not only that, very creditable performance in the race to take P6 as well. Well done, Manu. Thank you.
Super.
So, there the crowds then in the paddock here. Lots going on in the paddock for the race fans to enjoy. Here, the challenge show for you to enjoy right now. So it's all eyes on the podium, where we will be seeing Henry Hasse, Johnny Lawson, Christoph Herney, and of course Manuela Gosner for the Ladies' Cup, and it's next. Manuela Gosner, who is just to the left-hand side of our commentary position, shouting down there to the Ineco MP team and, of course, to her family as well. She makes her way elegantly, if I may say, up the steps towards the podium. And there is embraced by Mr. Andrea Mladičić, who is in charge of the Ferrari Challenge. So Christoph Herney is on the podium. There is Johnny Lawson, and we're standing by for Henry Hasse. Charles Pozzi team, of course, represented, and so too on the podium comes Manuela Gosner.
National anthem.
National anthem time. So the national anthem plays out for Henry Hasse. 2 home victories out of 2 starts here at Paul Ricard. And Francesco Bianchi, the president of Ferrari Europe and Africa, making the trophy presentations down here on the podium. Johnny Lawson receives his. Henry Hasse then receives his trophy. Team trophy, of course, will go to the Charles Pozzi team. And Manuela Gosner will receive yet another Ladies' Cup trophy. That's for the gentleman racers as well, because there's a separate classification for those drivers that are over 55 years of age, and Henry Hasse just qualifies for that. Manuela Gosner with her trophy. Now, Henry Hasse is already trying to carbonate the champagne as the fight goes on here. Manuela. Oh, that was great. Good to see the celebrations after a Coppa Shell race of 30 minutes duration has been played out. So there, Manuela Gosner, winner of the Ladies' Cup. And photos now after the power shower of champagne. Right, if you could all hold your trophy. Michele doing his level best to try and orchestrate this podium photograph opportunity. Henry Hasse being a real gentleman about it and kneeling down at the front, and I think that makes a nice picture. As does Francesca from the Formula Racing team. who we saw momentarily on camera. In the Drivers' Championship, that Johnny Lawson on 129 points. Eric Chung, of course, a non-finish, hasn't helped him. 87 points. Rick Lovett, 72. Henry Hassid on 66 points. So Johnny Lawson still with a very comfortable margin at the top of the Drivers' Championship, but he'll be very aware of the fact that Henry Hassid is chasing and chasing hard. So there we have the Drivers' Championship in full. And we'll take a look at the highlight sequence of that race to come now. Let's relive some of the excitement. And as the lights would go green, what was it going to be? Fight into turn number one. Well, Johnny Lawson was not going to make the mistake that he made yesterday, and Henry Hassid had to tuck in behind. However, Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson, both with very, very good pace, were up the road. And it wouldn't be long before Henry Hassid would find a way past Johnny Lawson. Eric Prinott was a man on a charge as well. And you can see just how much, or how hard Henry Hassid was pushing. And in the end, it was a question of when, not if, that Henry Hassid would eventually get past Johnny Lawson. Eric Prinott and Eric Chung had contact, which meant the end of the race for both of them. Sadly, there's Eric Prinott out of the race. Eric Chung also out of the race, which has really hurt his championship charge. Thomas Gostner and Tommy Lindroth. Tommy Lindroth trying to come back after Thomas Gostner had got past, but unfortunately run out of room to do so. So Henry Hassid made it to 2 wins out of 2 for the Charles Pozzi team in the Coppa Shell Ferrari Challenge Race 2 of 2. Fons Skeltermar very happy with a P4. Vladimir Hladic having a spin, and Manuela Gostner wins another Ladies Cup race. So, though the highlights from the circuit, Paul Ricard for Coppa Shell Trofeo Pirelli race. Please join us at 13:35 GMT. Bye-bye for now.